Hey guys, similar gear as yesterday in terms of the blade and the razor, I think. And we're going to switch it up, bring in a new brush, and then carbon razor. And this has the mild plate still. I'm playing around with that. I hope that this blade is the old Astra inked version instead of the laser etched version. I've tried the laser version with this and it wasn't all that friendly, which surprised me because the Astra Superior Platinum here is usually a lot more friendly. It gets along with so many razors. Well, that was the etched version. Could there be a difference? That's what I'm trying to find out. So this is the inked version, the older one, slightly older. I've had this guy soaking, as you can see, B4 knot from Declaration Grooming. Get him back in the water. Got 40 milliliters of water handy to add to the lather, however much we need to add to the lather from that. 3D lather bowl as usual, 3D printed. So let's load up the blade. So here's what that mild plate looks like for the carbon. And this is the titanium razor, and so it just has so much strength to it with so little weight. I have not found this razor to be too light for me. I was curious about that when I started using it, but it's got enough mass to where it feels reasonable. I might like it to have a little bit more weight to let it have some kind of smoothness due to the added inertia. But we can't all be beggars, can't be choosers. All right, we're going to try this base again. It was an enjoyable base from Cold River Soapworks yesterday, or the last shave, and Schapenmelk is the sheep's milk lanolin type, mutton tallow, whatever version that they have. And it gave me a nice shave, pretty creamy lather, not quite as creamy and nice as the Mitchell's wool fat that I've used recently. And so maybe we won't run this quite as wet, and just see if maybe it can give us a little bit more of a luxurious creamy feel while still being acceptably wet. Of course, that is subjective. That's my standard that I'll be going by, of course, and yours may be different. All right, let me get my face wet and then we'll load the brush. All right, let's load it up. Pull the brush out of the water. Now, I like to get rid of a lot of water from my brush. You can obviously keep more water in your brush if you want, then you'll have to add more later. Some soaps do like for you to come at it with kind of a dry brush. But if you've never tried the Marco method, where you come at a soap with just a saturated brush and you gently work it on the soap and not like a big splay or anything, give that a shot. Sometimes it's fun. And you can even look up Marco method and I think you probably find the best explanation for it, maybe through some YouTube videos, but on Badger and Blade, I believe, where the user Marco is the one. And he actually says that it's a misnomer. It's not his method. It's one that he calls the Italian master's method, barber method, or something like that. So, all right, 30 seconds sounds good. Let's do that. I hadn't used the soap in a while, and so I believe I loaded for more than 30 last time, but since I just used it, let's try 30. As you can see, we're not really getting too much coming up, but it is a nice little wet. That's 20. I'm getting some. Let's go to 35, just because I'm not really seeing a whole lot getting stirred up. Man, let's do 5 more seconds and do a full 40. I may end up with a ton of lather, but maybe not. So this is a soap that Cold River came out with, kind of recently, within the last couple of years. sheep's milk formula. So I'm working through my soap bases that I kind of enjoy or want to find out more about, because my nose is gone because of COVID. And so that's why I'm kind of doing some lesser known products, lesser used products at least. Got some great lathers recently out of Mitchell's Wool Fat. Nice performing lather yesterday out of this soap here. But it just didn't quite, while having that same performance, Mitchell's Wool Fat was able to have a little bit more kind of a luxury and silky feel. And so that's why I rated it just a little bit higher. But this soap base is no slouch at all. Very enjoyable to use. And it's gonna last you a nice long time, because it's a pretty hard puck. Because this is not coming up super quickly, I'm thinking I'm happy that I went the extra 10 seconds and didn't just stick with 30 seconds. And my effort today, I hope, is not to overwater it, because I want to try to get a feel that's just a little not quite as wet, and a little more creamy perhaps. It is a little bit of work to get this brush down in there and keep it working in splay, because it's got so much density, so many bristles in there, and a good bit of backbone. The other before knots I have don't seem to have as much backbone as this one. And it is my favorite batch so far. But I don't really know that I like this representation. It's a 28 millimeter knot, and my other knots I believe are smaller, and so perhaps I like those dimensions a little better, because perhaps they don't offer as much backbone as the bigger knot does. Maybe there's some kind of difference there. All right, yeah, I believe I was able to see a change after I kind of worked it for a little bit there. So it must have had some soap and water that needed a more complete mixture. A bit of water on my face. All right. Razor's ready. How much water are we starting out with here? 20 milliliters. Yes, so that is less than I used the other shave. Yeah, I can feel this is drier than before. Kind of, yeah, see, look at the build up as we go. Some people might like it this dry. I think a lot of people do, actually, on average. I think people do like it drier than I do. But I just, I covet that slickness that comes with a wetter lather. So we're just going to try this one being a little thicker. Let me just see. Let's take a feel here. Yeah. Nice and slick. We'll see if maybe, see how that translates to the razor feel, that sort of thing. I may still add a little bit of water to it. Yeah, this is kind of starting to feel a little on the... Okay, let's feel the lather here. Yeah, that is nice. It does have a nice luxurious feel. Lightly creamy, leaving some some lubrication on your finger as you pass by. It doesn't all kind of wipe away to be gone, and that's important to me. That seems to be a good trait. I think I will add a little bit of water here. I'll do something different, kind of add it into the brush and bowl here first. Oh yeah, that's very elastic there. Now I'm going to kind of rake that off of my brush. Just try something else. And now because my face is still the more concentrated version, we'll kind of add water a little separately to that. I do like measuring my water because if I find a really good ratio of water and soap, then if I know the measurement, then I'm able to duplicate that next time more quickly, get to that amount instead of just kind of gradually adding and adding. Also, I switch back and forth with different soaps a lot. And so if I measure, then I'm able to log that and remember what was a good mixture, a good ratio, in times previous. Also, it helps you guys to be able to reproduce my lathers. I've had a good many people have problems with their lather, and so if they can kind of use my info as that can be as objective as possible. That's the reason I shake out my brush a lot, because then it makes the brush less of a difference between my brush and your brush if it's not holding its own water as much. All right, carbon titanium razor with a mild plate, the minus plate. It does have a little bit of audio to it, kind of actually a decent amount usually. You can hear that. I usually don't like the scrapey kind of feel. Now we are cutting off a day and a half of growth here, so it is not a standard amount, so we could expect a little bit more audio. Now we'll see if that translates into feeling, into a feel of irritation. Now I do right now see, yeah, this lather is kind of requiring me to, I don't feel the slickness. I'm kind of having to pull the razor through it. So maybe what I've got in the bowl there is a little bit more That's going to give me a little bit more slickness there. Let's see if I take the kind of extra. Yeah, it still feels a little on the slow side, even with, you know, the stubble taken down, and so the stubble's not slow. Is not the thing that is slowing down the razor. This particular lather is. Now, you know, that ease of movement on my face is something that's important to me. But if you guys like thicker lathers, then that may be more important than that to you. And so if it slows you down just a little bit, that may not be a big deal at all to you. Let's go ahead and make it even wetter. So yeah, this is a nice soap. Good soap base. Proved it yesterday. I had a nice elastic lather that gave me a terrific glide. Great movement across the face, great slickness, and so I know that's possible with this one, and I'm glad I tried it a little drier today, but it did end up kind of giving me a little bit of slowness. Not quite as slick as I want. So yeah, I think this 28mm declaration nut just kind of has too many hairs for me. It's just so dense. I think I like the brushes. They're not quite ultra high density. With a lot of the stubble removed, we have a little bit less singing, a little less vocal chatter. And even this is not quite super fast. Could probably still add some more water to it. Feels really good though, you know, it has a really nice feel to the fingers, but I guess if I have to pick a feel, it needs to be the feel of the razor on the face, right? Instead of the fingers, because that's where the business is kind of happening. I'm trying this, moving a little bit of the remnants of the lather around to see if it offers me, you know, a good easy way to do touch-ups, and it is a little slow because it needs some water. One thing I've actually learned these last couple days with this base is that it does take a good bit of water, and it does have this almost an activation principle where, remember I said I was glad that I loaded for the extra 10 seconds? I didn't need to be. I didn't need to load for an extra 10. I've already done 2 passes, and I've still got this much lather, and it still needs a little bit more water. And so I definitely could have probably done with 20 seconds of loading, because the lather really does increase in volume quite a bit once you get enough water in it. I've got, you know, 3 more passes of lather easily here. Look how elastic that is. That is nice. So I do recommend this soap. I think it's a good buy. You know, it's the scent is just the basic kind of sheep stuff that you might smell with Mitchell's wool fat or Stirling sheep. I do probably recommend those 2 above this one if you had to choose, but you know, what you like about it, you may like this one better than those. So and they're kind of cheap. You You could have a rotation of sheep soaps. Find your favorite. You can jump on maybe the used market and sell the one that didn't quite match what you wanted. And what I'm also thinking about is irritation with this razor. Other blades, blade choice with this one seems to be a real critical point for my comfort. Maybe the razor is on that aggressive end of the spectrum where it's the blade really makes a difference. It's kind of the deciding vote. It's right on the line, and so certain blades lean it over to be more aggressive and others back to be nicer. And another proof that adding more water would have made me happier with it is as I'm doing these rinses, that added water just turns the slickness up to a 10 as I'm doing that, and it's slicker when I'm doing those rinses than when I am actually shaving, and so the lather just needed some more water, and that's good to know. But I think I proved my own point to myself that where I like to put it, where I got it probably the last shave was probably about where I my perfection area for it. So a good little soap. Let's put a balm on now. I am happy with the razor here. That inked Astra, it's been 2 uses, and that's really a very comparable measurement, comparable setting to the etched Astra of maybe a week ago, and the etched one just wasn't nearly as nice. I really am starting to think that when they changed to the etching, I guess they would have had to change their machinery. Maybe they changed the grind on the Astra, maybe to be more efficient, less costly, perhaps, maybe a less complex grind. And that's too bad. It's still going to be a reasonable blade, but it just doesn't seem to be quite as flexible as the inked version that I've just enjoyed for a good many years now. So I like to loosen it up, run it under some water just to get the lather out. And if you like thick lathers, you may sometimes need to do a little bit more work to clean out your blades and razors. But one of the benefits of a really wet, slick lather is pretty easy rinsing. Well, for this amount of soap, I really gathered up quite a bit of soap from the puck, and we're looking at 30 milliliters of water used, and it could definitely use more. Comfort with the shaves, the razor irritation, that sort of thing, it's almost nothing. Really. So this is a better blade for sure for this carbon razor. And the mild plate, man, I still wouldn't want to do that plus plate that I have. But with the mild plate, I think what I'm probably going to find is that there are a handful of blades that will work well with it, with this razor, and that's a relief. But then there are also ones to stay away from, it seems, because they just are a little too edgy for me. Now you use them 10 times, and that might put about any blade in a good place for me with this razor, which is good to know too. My sense of smell does seem to be coming back a little bit. I just got word via a comment recently that another guy had COVID in November of last year, I think he said, and his smell has come back, but not quite as acute it's not quite full strength, or as able to maybe easily distinguish between scents and stuff. So, and I hadn't heard that yet. That's interesting, but. One thing I've discovered during having no scent is it's not really too bad. I haven't really missed, smelling certain things. Now, it's going to affect how food tastes. So I think I have discovered that there are certain food items that a larger percentage of that tasting experience comes through the nose as you're bringing it up to your mouth, etc. And so I've been missing that part. And I think that's the reason some things have tasted strange. But But yeah, it would be great if it came back mostly, right? It would be great if it came back 100%, right? But if not, then oh well. We'll just deal with it. Maybe I just won't be quite the discerning nose in trying to figure out nuances in colognes and things like that. And all right, I was happy with today's shave. Performance, was a little bit slow, but that's part of the learning process as you figure out a base that you haven't used too many times. I think before this, I've probably used that soap maybe 2 times, so a total of like 4 or 5 now, and it's a nice one. It's and definitely an option if you're looking for a sheep type soap. And I'd also recommend Mitchell's Wool Fat and Stirling. And do we have any others? The Stirling Mutton Base, one of the sheep options that they have in that, which are like Scots Pine sheep. There's also electric sheep, but then there is Varan, Glastonbury, and Port-au-Prince that are in the mutton base too. But these, of course, have very distinct and stronger scents than the sheep lineup. Well, the electric sheep is quite strong. It's like citronella and eucalyptus or something like that. That's not my thing. But so those are options in that sheep family. And I need to try to track down my Haslinger Schapenmelk and use that one, because now would be a great time to compare that one, since I have all these sheep soaps in my recent mind. All right, well, there we go. I hope there's something in this one that's helpful to you in your shaving journey. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care.